With the release of FNAF Into the Pit also came a big question amongst the FNAF community. Is it canon to the rest of the games? Are we really shoving the time-traveling ball pit into the same universe as Robot Kids, or the futuristic bunny mask that literally lets you defy the laws of physics? Well, fret not, dear viewers, because in this video, I'm gonna be explaining how the entirety of the 1985 segments of Into the Pit was just Oswald going into the rusty old ball pit, finding a drug needle that some druggie left there years ago, and just tripping for the whole time. Anytime he's in the 80s, it's really just him getting injected with some old druggy shit. But I'm just kidding, we're actually not going to be worrying about the ball pit in this video. Instead, I'm sure y'all have read the title, seen the thumbnail. Obviously, we're going to be getting into what is Oswald's lore importance in the future of the FNAF franchise. If we were to hypothetically know for sure that this game takes place in the same timeline as the rest of the FNAF games, then so what? What would be the big importance of this game, and how would it tie in to the rest of the wider story? So let's start off not by looking at Oswald, but instead by Oswald's dad. There's a certain Easter egg that we get later on into the game. If we go up to the attic of Oswald's house, we see an old Freddy mask. Not only is this Freddy mask a tradable item that you can trade to Jet from Avatar, but we should also ask ourselves, why is this conveniently placed mask in our attic of all places? The game developers could have easily had Oswald just find that mask while back in the 80s to continue the plot of the story, but they specifically wanted it in Oswald's house of all places. And if it didn't belong to Oswald, then that probably means it belongs to Oswald's dad, possibly making Oswald's father the Freddy bully from FNAF 4. Now, I guess it's not out of the realm of possibilities that the dad just so happened to buy a Freddy mask during like Fall Fest or something whenever he was a kid and just never got rid of it. But him being the Freddy mask bully would just make a lot more sense for the overall story. Like, for example, why is all of this time traveling shenanigans only happening to Oswald and his family? Or why does Oswald draw pictures of Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica whenever not even knowing who they are? The reveal of his father being the Freddy mask bully from 1983 would seemingly give reasoning to these mysteries on a sort of spiritual level. But does this truly fit timeline-wise? I know it seems straightforward, but look at the Bonnie bully who goes on to be Cassie's dad whenever we see him in the security breach era, which is most likely way farther into the future than whenever Into the Pit takes place. We see that at that point he is only still a father figure and not some sort of grandfather figure. So in whatever year Into the Pit takes place, would Oswald's dad really be at the age to be a teenager in 1983? Well, judging by the aesthetic of Oswald's house in Into the Pit, and also by Oswald's dad's phone, I think it's safe to assume that this game takes place around the early 2000s, kind of like the FNAF movie. Well, 1980 and 2000 are 17 years apart, and considering that during the Bite of 83 he was already in between 10 to 20 years old, that would make him around 30 to 40 years old in Into the Pit. I'd say definitely old enough to have a kid Oswald's age. So yeah, even though there's not too much nuance to this theory, it kind of overall checks out. But something has been bugging me about it. Just the so what of it. Cool, we may have confirmed this specific connection, but what does it matter for the rest of the lore? If we are to hypothetically say that this game is in fact in the same continuity as Steelwool and Scott's games, then does it in any way, shape, or form connect back to those games, or does the Oswald family story come to an end here? After giving it a bit of thought and just mainly wanting to just beat game theory to the punch, I was going over what characters or events in the more newer Steelwool FNAF games could have importance to the character of Oswald. It led me to think of this guy, which then led me to think of this guy. These are two separate people. One of them is Scott Cawthon. The other is the mimic as Scott Cawthon. No, I'm just kidding. The other is a random indie game developer who made some old FNAF games that allowed Fazbear Entertainment to rebrand themselves in Help Wanted. As y'all can probably already tell, I am going to state that this indie game dev is actually the grown-up version of Oswald. That's ridiculous. Where is my proof, you may ask? Well, right here is my proof. Please don't click off. I swear there's more proof. Also, another key component of the Into the Pit game is whenever you play as Oswald, grabbing different parts to repair the arcade machines. Now, this is honestly a pretty unique skill for like a 12-year-old to have, but this trait, being very skilled with technological-like things, would also come in handy a lot when it comes to being a sort of video game developer. I mean, I know it's technically not the same thing, but it's still both some different type of like engineering in a sense. It's just somebody with that type of skill would most likely go on to utilize it for their future job. And not only that, but also because we've seen Oswald draw these characters for fun even before he knew what they were, it clearly shows us how he has a passion, or at least a creative outlet, utilizing these characters, just like developing games centered around them would be. I know the proof here isn't like 100% definitive, but I really just want to throw the idea out there. I mean, come on, just look at the indie game dev and Oswald side by side. You can't tell me that Oswald doesn't just look like a younger version of that indie game dev. Anyways, that's it for today's mini theories. So if any of y'all have any of your own theories on Into the Pit, then make sure to let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear them, and I would also love to hear your own thoughts on this matter. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.